Chapter 7. Mr. Bennet's property consisted almost entirely in an estate of £2,000 a year, which, unfortunately for his daughters, was entailed, in default of heirs male, on a distant relation. And their mother's fortune, though ample for her situation in life, could but ill supply the deficiency of his. Her father had been an attorney in Meryton, and had left her £4,000. She had a sister married to a Mr. Phillips, who had been a clerk to their father and succeeded him in the business, and a brother settled in London in a respectable line of trade. The village of Longbourn was only 1 mile from Meryton, a most convenient distance for the young ladies, who were usually tempted thither 3 or 4 times a week to pay their duty to their aunt and to a milliner's shop just over the way. The 2 youngest of the family, Catherine and Lydia, were particularly frequent in these attentions. Their minds were more vacant than their sisters', and when nothing better offered, a walk to Meryton was necessary to amuse their morning hours and furnish conversation for the evening. And, however bare of news the country in general might be, they always contrived to learn some from their aunt. At present, indeed, they were well supplied both with news and happiness by the recent arrival of a militia regiment in the neighborhood. It was to remain the whole winter, and Meryton was the headquarters. Their visits to Mrs. Phillips were now productive of the most interesting intelligence. Every day added something to their knowledge of the officers' names and connections. Their lodgings were not long a secret, and at length they began to know the officers themselves. Mr. Phillips visited them all, and this opened to his nieces a store of felicity unknown before. They could talk of nothing but officers, and Mr. Bingley's large fortune, the mention of which gave animation to their mother, was worthless in their eyes when opposed to the regimentals of an ensign. After listening one morning to their effusions on this subject, Mr. Bennet coolly observed, "From all that I can collect by your manner of talking, you must be 2 of the silliest girls in the country. I have suspected it some time, but I am now convinced." Catherine was disconcerted and made no answer, but Lydia, with perfect indifference, continued to express her admiration of Captain Carter and her hope of seeing him in the course of the day, as he was going the next morning to London. "I am astonished, my dear," said Mrs. Bennet, "that you should be so ready to think your own children silly. If I wished to think slightingly of anybody's children, it should not be of my own, however. If my children are silly, I must hope to be always sensible of it. Yes, but as it happens, they are all of them very clever. This is the only point, I flatter myself, on which we do not agree. I had hoped that our sentiments coincided in every particular, but I must so far differ from you as to think our 2 youngest daughters uncommonly foolish. My dear Mr. Bennet, you must not expect such girls to have the sense of their father and mother. When they get to our age, I dare say they will not think about officers any more than we do. I remember the time when I liked a red coat myself very well, and, indeed, so I do still at my heart. And if a smart young colonel with 5,000 or 6,000 a year should want one of my girls, I shall not say nay to him. And I thought Colonel Forster looked very becoming the other night at Sir William's in his regimentals." "Mamma dotes on soldiers, you know," said Lydia to Kitty. "I hope we shall have a ball soon. It is a long time since I had one." Mr. Bingley's ball was indeed a promising event, and such had been the eager expectation for it, that even the arrival of the militia could not altogether drown it. The topic of the ball was still discussed between the sisters, and Jane confided to Elizabeth her hope of another meeting with Mr. Bingley. But misfortune soon clouded this expectation. Jane received an invitation from Miss Bingley to dine at Netherfield, and her mother, eager to see her daughter closer with Mr. Bingley, declared that she must go on horseback, hoping for rain to compel her to stay the night. "My dear," said Mr. Bennet, "if your daughter should have a dangerous fit of illness, if she should die, it would be a comfort to know that it was all in pursuit of Mr. Bingley and under your orders." "Oh, I am not afraid of her dying. People do not die of little trifling colds. She will be taken good care of. As long as she stays there, it is all very well. I would rather go on horseback than in the carriage, for it looks more like independence." Jane set out on horseback in spite of the threatening clouds, and her mother's scheme succeeded. A heavy rain fell as soon as she had reached Netherfield, and Jane was wet through. Her illness, though not alarming, was sufficient to confine her to her bed, and Elizabeth, hearing of it with some concern, determined to go to her, though the distance was far and the road muddy. Her mother opposed it. "You cannot go on foot, because the carriage is not to be had, and we shall have no horses till the coach comes back from the farm. You must stay where you are." But Elizabeth was determined, and when the servant was ready, she set out on foot. The distance to Netherfield was 3 miles, and the muddy roads gave Elizabeth a dirty walk. She arrived tired and splashed, but was shown immediately upstairs to her sister's room. Jane was delighted to see her. Elizabeth's appearance created some surprise and some admiration at Netherfield, especially in the eyes of Mr. Darcy.
If you enjoyed Chapter 7, subscribe now for Chapter 8 and the rest of this amazing story. You can also find the full playlist here to improve your English with ease. Don't miss out.